Peace and love, family. Welcome to another powerful discussion with your sister, Dr. Ma'at. Before I get today's discussion started, I got to make a few announcements, family. Make sure that you head on over to consciousingenuity.org. That's right. Head on over, family, to consciousingenuity.org to get your child or youth in your community enrolled in our youth empowerment programs. Right now, Conscious Ingenuity Institute offers 4 youth empowerment programs. Our first program is Conscious Ingenuity, which is a year-round program that utilizes STEAM, science, technology, engineering, art, agriculture, and mathematics to build character, confidence, and capabilities. And so if you head on over to consciousingenuity.org, you can learn more about conscious ingenuity. All right. Our second program is the UACI STEM Camp. This is a virtual learning experience for 2 weeks during the summer, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where students are online with myself and Bob Amin of the Uhuru Academy, and they learn about African STEM history, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the fundamentals of coding. This is 100% virtual. So we have students who join us from New York to California, okay? And so you can get your child enrolled in this. And let me say this is the first year that we are scaling the UACI camp. Usually we take in about 20 to 25 students. This year we're doubling that. It's going to be about 50 students who will be enrolled in the UACI STEM camp. And right now, family, just to be honest with you, we only have 10 slots left, okay? And this camp starts on June the 30th of this year, and it ends on June the 11th. So if you want your child or youth in your family or your community in the UACI camp, it will behoove you to get them enrolled ASAP, okay? The third program, the Asafo Training Camp. The fourth program, the Agoji Training Camp. These are our all-boy and all-girl training camps, which focuses on critical thinking, character development, cultural enrichment, life skills, and much, much more, okay? And let me say something, family. All of these programs are free. Let me say that again. Conscious Ingenuity, the UACI STEM Camp, the Asafo Training Camp, and the Agoji Training Camp are all free, family. Okay, so make sure that you get your child enrolled today. Make sure you get your child enrolled today. Let me do this. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. Okay, and I'm also going to put it on the screen. All right, so that you have it. So I'm dropping it in the chat on YouTube. I'm also dropping it in the chat on Instagram. I see my Instagram family in the building. Peace and love to my Instagram family. Peace and love to you. Make sure that you head on over to my YouTube channel, okay, so that I can publish, so I can show your comments. I want to show all of your comments on the screen. All right, just like I'm getting ready to do. Shout out to brother Tim Jones. I see you, beloved. He said, always a pleasure to be amongst my people. Peace and love to you. I see the Queen Mother, Rashamella's in the building. She said, peace and much love. Queen Mother, I'm looking forward to seeing Zion. Zion is one of my stars, family. He's been participating in the Asafo training camp. I think this is his 3rd iteration. He's also been involved in the UACI STEM camp, and I think he's been in for about 4 cycles. So much love to you, Queen Rashamella. All right, who else we have in the building? I see the Melanated Cafe is in the building. He says, peace and black power to you, family. Let me see. She said, these are amazing programs. Thank you so much, Queen Mother. She said, and he cannot wait. Ashe. I see the Dijon Ford is in the building. Peace and love to your family. Family, do me a favor right now, family. Do me a favor. Make sure that you thumb up this video. Thumb it up, thumb it up, thumb it up. And also share this video, family. Sharing is caring. We want to each one teach one. And it's easy to do that. All you have to do is go to your social media and share it. And I'm actually getting ready to do the same thing, because YouTube and social media, man, YouTube, Instagram, and all these other social media platforms, they play a lot of games. They unsubscribe folks from my channel. They mess around with my view count. They don't let folks, they don't notify folks when I'm live. So they doing a lot of stuff, family. So help me get the word out right now that I'm live by sharing this stream on your social media platforms. And I'm getting ready to do the same thing. We have a giant in the building, family. We have a giant in the building by the name of Dr. Wright. And anyone knows anyone who's connected to me knows her name. Okay. This sister is a warrior. She's an intellectual warrior. And as Baba Imhotep brought to my attention, he said, Dr. Maya, you are that spirit of those intellectual warriors. He said, like Dr. Jacob Carruthers and Dr. Asa Hilliard. And he started naming, a lot of our great thinkers and warriors. And I feel the same way about Dr. Wright. She's in that line, of warrior scholars, as we would call them. And she wrote a masterpiece I think that everyone should get. It's called Booker T. Washington in Africa. And our book club, shout out to brother JT Coin Rings, we discussed the book, every chapter. And even Dr. Wright, she joined us, a few times to help us understand the chapter. So I think that book should be in every Black household, right? That book sets the record straight about our ancestor, the great Booker T. Washington. We've been fed for so long, a narrative about him that, we started to believe it. How sometimes a lie is told over and over and over again, it's repeated by so many people, you begin to believe it. And her book destroys, the false narratives that were circulating and promoted. By the dominant society about our warrior ancestor, Booker T. Washington. So anyway, family, she will be in the building tonight. So I want to get as many people in this virtual seats as possible to listen to this warrior. So I'm right now, and I'm on Facebook, literally. I'm saying we are live. And I said, join us. All right. Join us. I'm also getting ready to take this link and throw it in group chats. That's another thing, family. Take this link and throw it in group chats and let folks know that your sister, Dr. Ma'at, is live. And I see your comments on IG. I see your comments, IG. A brother said, I happened on your account. I think you meant to say you happened to stumble across my account. And you said, I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you so much, Brother Ali. And I appreciate your words, brother. I see Brother Lawan is in the building. Peace and love to you. He said, I dropped a meeting on getting $100K loan for my business because your subject matter today on your show. Peace and love to you, warriors. Hey, look, IG family, do me a favor. Come on over to my YouTube channel. Okay, Dr. Oya Ma'at. Or you can actually type in Truth to Power Talk. Type in Truth to Power Talk with Dr. Ma'at. Come over to YouTube because I would love to show your comments on the screen. Love to show it on the screen. He said, Chicago, Illinois, our lovely Dr. Ma'at is located. Oh, peace and love to you. So you in Chicago, Illinois, because I'm based in Baltimore. So you in Chicago. And I was just in Chicago at the National Society for Black Engineers Conference. It was just in Chicago the beginning of March down at the convention center. So I was actually in Chicago for a few days this past March. All right. I see Virgo Venom, the Queen Mother Virgo Venom is in the family. She said, love you, Dr. Ma. I love you too, Queen Mother. I love you too, Queen Mother. She said, peace to the family. I see Sister Tiffany is in the building. Peace and love to you. I see Queen Mother Myra. That's another one of my parents, my warrior parents who are in the building. I look forward to seeing your son at the UACI STEM camp. We have Dr. Samuels in the building, the BB Fahodie to you, Dr. Craig Samuels. He said, BB Fahodie, peace, Dr. Ma in chat. I see Brother Ron Green is in the building. He says, Ankh Inja Seneb. I probably butchered it, Brother Ron Green, but peace and love to you, Hotep, to you. Dr. Craig Samuel says, I have this book. I have that book. Absolutely. It's a wonderful book, man. Booker T. Washington in Africa. Wonderful book. I see Brother Tim Jones is back. Yep, he said he's going to get that ASAP. Absolutely. Brother Joseph Cole is in the building. A BB Fahodie to you, Brother Joseph Cole. I see Person Kid 221 is in the building. Peace and love to your family. A BB Fahodie to your family. So without further ado, I'm going to bring to you our warrior. I'm telling you, our warrior scholar, Dr. Tareen Wright. That's the next voice that you're going to hear.
Let's combat and fight back with maltracks. The war of the minds, they want control of the masses. And Common Core, they dumb us down in the classes. Without knowledge, we can't gain access. Build with the elders, take notes and write classics. We keep whining on the block, how it's gonna stop? Let's start supporting our own, make their supply drop. We buy stocks, then we buy blocks. Cause we know the truth and we tuned in to Dr. Maya.
A BB Fahodier, a BB Toomey, a BB Wan. Peace to all of my thinkers, truth speakers, and truth seekers. Welcome to another Truth to Power Talk with your sister, Dr. Ma'at. Thank you for joining another powerful discussion. And tonight I have with me another powerful guest, but she is no stranger to this platform and to the community. Dr. Wright. Peace and love to you, beloved. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me once again.
Thank you for being on once again and just taking time out of your busy schedule. I know you're a busy sister. You got a lot going on. You teach. Look, you teach. And when I say teach, look, exactly. You teach locally, nationally, internationally, sure. and yes, ma'am. And so I know that you're just busy, but I do appreciate you being here tonight with my audience. And so thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. Family, make sure that you take a moment to thumb up this video. Thumb it up. Also, family, share this video. We want to each one teach one. And the way to do that in 2025 is by simply sharing this broadcast or this stream on your social media platforms. And also, family, be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so that whenever I go live, you will be notified. And family, trust me, I'm not live like no shot at Roland Martin. But that brother, you get notifications every 2 minutes, a video. I'm not like that. You'll probably get a notification from me a few times out of the week. Okay, just letting you know what I have going on. So make sure that you subscribe, hit the notification button. And also, family, I've brought on a lot of our greats, a lot of our scholars, a lot of our thinkers. And so I have a Truth to Power Talk playlist, okay, that you can access on my channel. So make sure that you go back and watch some of those shows in the archive. All right. And so without further ado, family, we're going to jump right into it. I brought my warrior sister, okay, Abenfo,
right?
Professor Abenfo. I brought her on to talk about a number of issues. The first issue, not issues, actually, a number of things. The first thing that I want to talk about is I want to salute the warrior, Malcolm X, El Malik Shabazz. I hope I didn't butcher it. Is it El Haj or El? Yeah, El Haj Malik Shabazz. Okay, I want to make sure I didn't butcher our ancestors' name. But tomorrow, if he was living, Dr. Wright, he would be 100 years old.
Wow.
If he was living. So we're celebrating his centennial tomorrow. I know that a lot of things are going on in New York. I was told that the Sons of Africa, they're going up to his grave site, and Professor James Small will be there. A lot of people will be there to conduct, a ceremony in honor of him and his legacy. I did hear that his daughter is doing something. I hope I'm not butchering her name. Is Ilyasha Bass?
Ilyasha.
Yeah. She's doing some stuff. Yeah, I heard she's doing some stuff in New York. And there's a brother here in Baltimore by the name of Haki. I know that he has a bus leaving Coppin State University tomorrow to go to New York. So a lot is going on, Dr. Wright. Yeah, a lot is going on. A lot of people are, celebrating this centennial. But let me ask you this, Dr. Wright.
Mm-hmm.
If Malcolm X was alive today, do you think he would think or feel that Black people have progressed in America since his time, since the 60s? Do you think he would have said that we have progressed in America?
So my immediate answer, I would say he would think we have not, right? Because if Malcolm seemed to be good at qualifying things.
Absolutely.
And when we qualify things, I think on a superficial level, it may look, the aesthetics have changed. Things look a little better. But if we were to weigh and measure them in every area of life, I don't think so. right? So
Mm-mm.
we would look at that economically and qualify that. Very likely not, because we know about home ownership in the Black community. If we were looking at healthcare, I would say not, right? Because we can qualify them right now. I just finished talking about this. The disproportionate number of Black women who die in childbirth is a glaring announcement that things are bad. Okay, in terms of us systemic racism in healthcare. I think I'm sorry for that noise. I can't jump and stop that now, but
What's you over there printing something, Doc? Is it a printer
no,
going
that is my cat. He wants to get something out of a bag. But anyway, okay, I'm gonna leave it unless you tell me to stop. So
No,
yeah,
go ahead,
Dr.
Doc. Go ahead,
Doc.
go get that cat, Doc. Go get the cat. And I remember the last time you were on, the cat was meowing in the background. I'm like, Doc, get the
They
cat.
were kittens then,
Oh,
but
they were
now
kittens. Oh Lord.
I try to run the place.
Oh man, Doc. They was
So
meowing in the background. I was like, Doc, get the cat. I was like, get
exactly.
the cats, Doc. Get the cats.
Yeah.
But you said in terms of
So
systemic,
no, I
you don't think that Malcolm X would think that we progressed.
no, I
But
don't think so.
and like you said, he was really good at assessing things,
Right,
and I love how you mentioned aesthetically, right? Like I think you said aesthetically. I
yeah.
think that's the word you use. That it seems like we've progressed. So you'll say, "Oh, they're Black politicians.
Mhm.
Oh, you have more, basically Black faces in high places." So people make
Exactly.
that assumption. Oh, Black people on TV. Oh, you got some Black millionaires, and so and then when people say that, Dr. Wright, I'm like, do you all understand that even during the era of enslavement and colonization, there were Black millionaires? So don't use Black millionaires, right?
Right.
As a
Robust.
measurement. You know what I mean? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
As a way to gauge how far we've progressed. Because like I said, we had millionaires, in the Black community, and we were still enslaved. So we won't use that as a measurement, right?
right,
To say that is, a way to say that we've progressed because they're, Black millionaires. But you'll see people say, well, they're Black people that live in white neighborhoods. Again, like we still measure Black progress as in terms of our proximity to whiteness. We still do that. So if we elevate in white spaces, that's Black progress. If we live around white folks, that's Black progress. And so I'm sitting here thinking about Dr. John Henry Clark, who said that if you start our history with slavery, then everything will look like progress, right?
oh
You,
yeah,
you, you know what I mean? Everything will look like, yeah, we progress, but really, man, if you think about where we were prior to slavery, and I'm talking about, liberated and being sovereign, then
free.
what we haven't progressed, right?
No, no,
We still
no.
have a ways to go. We still
I
have a ways to go. So,
I
go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that I think the way to assess things would be to look at our life chances. Okay,
Mm,
an increase or decrease in our life chances, and our life chances have not increased. Okay, we're still dealing with things that we should not have to deal with that
absolutely.
decrease our life chances. So the question is sort of, can you lose your life without recourse because of racism in some way today,
Mm,
in the way you could 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 150 years ago? And the answer is pretty much yes. I don't think that we've had a couple of scenarios where people have fought really, really hard in defense of someone's life that has been taken publicly, but the reality is that it wasn't a given. So that's not an increase to our life chances, meaning that George Floyd or Ahmaud Arbery, okay, people fought for us to actually get some measure of justice in
that's
respect to their lives, but it wasn't a given. It wasn't a natural. They weren't naturally protected by the Constitution, right?
mhm.
We had to fight and tear the place up in order to get that. So the reality is that no, we're not doing better. There was a study that was done in New York about maybe about 3 years ago now, that looked at the maternal mortality rate in New York City, right?
Mm.
Because people like to try to talk about New York as a very progressive place. Not really. Uh, not at all. Um, and the study showed that Black women were 10 to 12 times more likely to die in childbirth
Mm.
in New York City hospitals, not the hospitals up way in the upstate. I was going to say in the woods. No.
Right, 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 right.
Uh, hospitals right in New York City that would probably boast at state of the art everything. Black women are dying 10 to 12 times the rate of white women in something that is a very natural thing, giving birth. We were the first to do it and we're still doing it, but we're dying disproportionately
Mm.
to them in their hospitals, we can say.
I
When
mean,
we
I mean, yeah, and I just want to interject, and so much so that you have Black men who are learning, like you have Black women who are studying like how to become doulas, but there are Black men who are now also studying,
yeah,
how to deliver babies, because you got Black men now saying, I don't want my wife,
to
delivering
die.
in these, yeah, I don't want my wife to die. I don't want her to go in these hospitals. So you have Black men who are actually studying childbirth now because
Yes.
they're scared that their wife would be, dying trying to give birth to their child. So I just wanted to add that, Doc, while you were talking about it.
Yeah.
Please proceed.
No, so I mean, when we assess things in terms of our life chances, what makes racism so profound is that one, it permeates every aspect of our life. And two, there is almost nothing you can do because it is systemic that can protect you. So you can't get any degree, you can't live in a certain neighborhood, you can't, I don't know, all the things you think you can acquire to protect you from it, it does not work. It's not effective. And so that's what makes it so sinister. It is deadly. It has a death toll attached to it. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Malcolm would say, I think he could see that because it's very clear.
Very
Uh,
clear.
he would call it on that. Like, no, our life chances have not increased. We're still struggling to increase our life chances.
Mm. And Dr. Wright, let me ask you this. Is
Mhm.
it anything that we as Black people can do to advance ourselves? You know what I mean? Like, is it our fault that we haven't progressed? Is it something we need to be doing more? I mean, I'm just asking. Is it, so I guess my question would be, if we haven't progressed, then why haven't we progressed? Are we part to blame? Is it them? Is it a combination of both? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I do think that I think we've progressed in the world. I don't know that I can say unequivocally we've progressed in America. And I don't, and to that point, I think that's part of the reason why we shouldn't limit ourselves to America, because there are some things about our condition that if we change places, maybe shifted geographically, moved, we could address. But I think that there are some of us that do believe that achieving a certain, how would you say, achieving certain goals in the context of this society in terms of freedoms that advances us. I don't know, because that's the debate about the nationalist, right? What is nationalism? Nationalism means that you want nationhood, and once you have achieved nationhood, you manage all things for you and your people, and so you can eliminate systemic forces that impact you negatively. But I think when you've decided to stay in a place, um, and you fighting, then it's going to be a fight. And unfortunately, one of the things that a professor at Tuskegee said to me, he said, listen, the reality in America is this: the progress of Black people is solely hinged on what white people will allow.
Mm.
And he was 80, let me see, late 70s, 80 then. And I was a little, I don't know, sophomore, junior at Tuskegee. And he lived to be 91 or 2 and still teaching. But he said all the progress here is hinged here. Our progress here, not in the world. Our progress here is unfortunately dependent upon what white people will allow. And they only allow what is in their benefit to the progress that's beneficial, right? To
Absolutely.
them, the system, the establishment. And we can look at that over history, right? So even the amendments that people are fighting over now, the 14th Amendment and all of that, those things they come out of the Black freedom struggle, but they were only granted to a certain extent because the Republican Party literally benefited from those things, right? So naturalization and then the 15th Amendment voting. uh, they benefited. So they allowed that progress. Now we have always been fighting. We are fighting consistently, without fail, above ground, below ground, meaning visibly and not so visibly. So we're steady fighting. However, that progress is dependent upon whether or not some white people, or at least white people in power, will allow it. So we got to shift things. I think that there's a lot to be said about us looking at other possibilities, which there's a constant conversation now about us expatriating, places to expatriate. We're freer now to leave. Right. You're free to leave, certainly. And I think that the continent is advancing along with us, like saying, you have a place to come, you can come and live here. And and that's not a new thing, but it's a more popular thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. No,
Mhm.
no, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. But yeah, like one thing that saddens me when I think of us,
Mhm.
some people say African Americans. They say I don't want to be African American, Black American, or
Yeah.
I'm simply going to say
Mhm.
Africans in America, right?
Yeah.
Those of us who are the descendants of the people who endured chattel slavery.
Right.
Those folks. That's who I'm talking about. My folks. That's my lineage.
Mhm. Mhm.
And what's when I think of us, and I said, "Daggone, we don't know what it's like to just govern ourselves." It's heartbreaking, Dr. Wright, when you think about that. Like I remember having a conversation with my mother when I came to that realization that
Mhm.
we've literally been in this place, for hundreds of years, and
Yeah.
we don't even know what it's like to be self-governing, to be self-determining,
Yeah.
to be in control of the politics, the economics, the culture, the education in our own daggone communities. Doc, it hurts when you come to that realization. Like
Oh
it
yeah.
hurts. It hurts. And so anyway, salute to my brothers and sisters that, have decided to repatriate. And I know that they have some issues because I know some folks who have repatriated and they tell me some of the issues that they're having on the continent. And I mean, and salute to brothers and sisters who say, you know what? My ancestors fought and died here in this country, and I'm gonna build. You got some folks that say I'm
Fight
gonna
it
stay
out.
here, huh?
Yeah.
We say you say
Some
that.
of them say, yeah, they're gonna fight it out. They're
Yeah,
gonna
some
do it
people
out.
say I'm gonna fight it out. I'm gonna stay here, fight it out. Some people say, look, I'm gone. I'm leaving. I'm gonna go over here and build. And
Right.
so anyway, just as long as we're all fighting, you see what I'm saying? I think that everybody's fighting in their own way. Doc, let me ask you this. So, Trump, Trump recently allow first we heard it was like 54 South African refugees come into United States, and then the number went up to 55, then I heard 56, and now I'm hearing that the number's up to 59. And so for some folks who have maybe some folks may be not be living under a rock. So if you're living under a rock, you probably don't know what's going on. But Trump's administration, after literally detaining thousands of immigrants, or illegal immigrants as they call them, and
Mhm.
deporting them in inhumane ways. From what I'm hearing, he decides that he's going to allow some 60 white South African refugees to
Mhm.
come over here into America, and they're justifying it. His administration are justifying it, and so they're calling themselves, Dr. Wright, the Afrikaners. That's what
Mhm.
they call themselves, the Afrikaners. But
Mhm.
I want people to understand who these folks are. These are folks, family, whose ancestors were Dutch. Their ancestors were enslavers and
Yeah.
colonizers, and we're talking about they're the descendants of the Dutch, the French, and the Germans.
Mhm.
that participated in slavery and colonization. These are the people who are the architects of the apartheid. Okay, they were the daggone architects and beneficiaries of the apartheid.
Mhm.
Okay, and so now South Africa is rising up. South Africa's rising up, and they're like, no, we're not going to let you control it. You all are 5 to 7% of the population. We're not going to let you control the wealth and the resources and the power anymore. We're not going to let you all dictate to us anymore. We're
Right.
not going to let you continue to have your all white communities, which they
Okay.
had in South Africa.
Africa.
Okay, yeah,
Africa. Period.
so the Africans are saying, no, we're not allowing you to do that anymore. So now they're running over here to United States, and they're claiming violence is violence against their farmers, and it's violence against their farmers, and they're also claiming that reverse discrimination. I say, golly, Dr. Wright, that the audacity now, now because black folks said, I want my land back, I want to be in control of my economy, I want to be in control of the politics. Now they're crying, saying this is reverse discrimination. But these are the same people, like I said, Dr. Wright, who were the architects of the apartheid and,
Yeah.
and beneficiaries of
Yeah.
the apartheid. Now you're claiming violence against your people and reverse discrimination. And so when I found this out, Dr. Wright, I couldn't help but to think about your book, Booker T. Washington in Africa,
Mhm.
where you were talking about how it was Booker T. Washington and the Tuskegee machine that defeated this
African exclusion measure. Yeah.
African exclusion measure. So they were
Mhm.
trying to keep black folks out, but they were actually importing, letting white folks come in. And
Right.
so we're seeing that now. Remember the Haitians that were trying to get into the country? Remember, it was like, no,
Yeah.
you all can't come in. So, they would think they were scared of the browning of America or the
Right.
blackening of America. So they're like, no, you can't come in. But yet these 59 or 60 Afrikaners, okay, or they're Dutchmen,
Caucasian.
Frenchmen,
South Africa.
Caucasians, absolutely, they're permitted to come in. So, what are your thoughts on that, Dr. Wright? Let's really unpack what's going on.
Well, it's so funny that you mentioned my book because, yes, there's a whole chapter in the book where I talk about Washington propagandizing against atrocity in the Congo and criticizing the use of Christianity in South Africa as they're praying that they're going to be able to successfully conquer and colonize certain parts of South Africa during that period. So it's very interesting to see, fast forward, we have what you and I might consider a more equitable, even though it's not complete. South Africa needed to have a very open revolution, right? As opposed to sort of what they opted to do. But they have had this, recovery from apartheid, which is a very slow process. However, they're working to address, just in terms of equity, right? I want to say this because I do have an inside source to this that I used to work with a long time ago, a young man. I won't say his name, but he worked for the ANC, and he was on the human rights division, high level individual. Nonetheless, the systems to bring equity to South Africa exist, meaning land redistribution, all of that.
Mhm.
However, the wheels of it, the mechanisms are there, but the wheels turn so slow that it's highly unlikely to see the kind of equity we would want to see in a post-apartheid South Africa, right? So, meaning it's not going down like how it went down in Cuba. Castro came into power and he seized all of the land. It's not going down like it went down in Zimbabwe, where the people are going onto the land and saying, "We taking back this land. This is our land," and the government backed them. So it's not happening like that. They are more diplomatic, and they have created systems that work so slowly that you will very likely not see equity in terms of land ownership and real wealth in any individual's lifetime, right? So the people living now, they're probably not going to see any of that progress until the next generation, and that's disappointing. So
Mhm.
with that, these Europeans that are in, or Caucasians that are in Southern Africa, and it rubs me the wrong way, the Afrikaners,
That's what they call them, the
some
Afrikaners.
trick. Like, listen, I had a colleague, I guess I could say, I won't say at what institution, but I'll say in the larger institution, CUNY, who had the nerve to tell me that, of course, white people can be Africans. And I'm like, okay, so let me ask you a question. When you think of Europeans, do you think of someone looks like me? No. And
No, that's true. I'm over here like, wow, like
right,
that's true.
right, because nobody disputes Asian, whether it's brown or more yellow hue, or pale. Nobody disputes when someone says European, right? They don't dispute that. In their mind's eye, they see a more pale person. But then now when we talk about Africa, all of a sudden you could see a smorgasbord of images in your mind when you reference an African person. Like, stop. No. That is only because of what Africa has, the resources, all of that. This is human politics 101, meaning that some of the poorest people, resource poor people on this earth, want to be in the most rich, most wealthy, resource wealthy place on earth, right? And covet and own those resources. So it's not real rocket science or anything like that, but invoking the idea that, Caucasians are indigenous to Africa is a very interesting concept. And I think it's, of course, beneficial to them to speak in that way and say, well, I'm an Afrikaner, I'm African, so I think that's the one between the Boers, or put it this way, the Dutch, the British, the Germans. Those are the three, or at least three of the major nationalities that migrated to Southern Africa, right? And now constitute themselves or call themselves Afrikaners. I think socially, South Africa is changing. And this is why there is a desire for them to leave. The social dynamic, I spoke to some people, and then I've watched a couple of things about the social changes in South Africa. And I do feel like white or Caucasian South Africans are feeling it. Okay. Even as early as 2004, I was sitting on a plane next to a Caucasian man from South Africa who had established business in the United States and Canada, and was saying, oh, I'm out here because of the way things are going in South Africa. And that was 20 years ago. So they're out there, they're out here, they're coming to the United States, going to Canada, for the purpose of the fact that they do not have the kind of privilege that they seek or want in South African society. They have whole encampments of poor whites or Caucasians in Southern Africa, in South Africa, the country specifically. And I just came back from Zimbabwe. No problems in Zimbabwe of that nature. Trust me, no problems with Zimbabwe in terms of what's happening. So my thing is this: the United States, the only meeting place for expatriates of South Africa, Afrikaners in particular, and the United States, the only thing they have in common is the brutal racist history and structures and systems. So it's a no-brainer when they say they want to come to America with the purpose is the sentiment, and they have an ally in Trump. They have an ally in him, and via who? Elon Musk.
That's what I was thinking about. South Africa,
Yeah,
Elon Musk. Like, it's not. Yeah,
from
come on.
playbook for sure.
Exactly.
That was his thing. He wants to give his people a place to go, a white man's land where they are ensured privilege. Because we got to think about what America is, right? This project is really a project in white nationalism.
Mm.
Okay. And they call it an experiment. Yeah, it's an experiment. People who have cultural ethnicity, left their homeland and came to a place and tried to forge nationhood out of skin color, right? Whiteness. And so there's a professor named Dr. Hunter. He's long retired now. He wrote a book called The Culture of Whiteness, where he's taught. So they come and they establish the culture of whiteness. And this is a new identity for them. And they seek to make structure nationhood around it, a white nation, right? That's what this is about. So they can come from all their ethnic backgrounds and the peasants of their European societies and come to America and have the privilege of whiteness.
Right.
They don't all get it on day one. Some of them got to work for it and they complain about it. That's what the Irish are talking about. That's what the Italians are talking about. Oh, we weren't considered white upon arrival. No, but you knew, like Cornel West talks about, you knew how to become instantly American. And that was to, I'm not going to say the word, but to utter the word N.
Right.
It works like magic and would make them instantly American because it says you know how to internalize anti-Black racism. Okay. And that they are invoking that because they understand that that is part of the nature of America, right? The white is primary and then the other is Black, right? And so you want to be able to come in and you know the password is to say in. As long as you can conceptualize that, I'm in because I know the password. The password is that I know how to internalize white supremacy, pathology, and anti-Black racism, a very direct anti-Black form of racism. And this word is indicative of all of that. And so he, Cornel West says it better than I just stated it, that he said that basically that he understood that to utter the word NIGGER would work like magic and make any immigrant instantly American. And let me just say this, because of the time period that we're in, not beyond the understanding of our brown folks who come here too. They too come, into the American paradigm and utter the word in order to become instantly American, right? Noting and signaling that they can internalize and do internalize anti-Black, anti-African pathology. So I think that's all that is. Trump is in position. He is certainly a white nationalist. He is without a doubt a white nationalist. Elon Musk is certainly a white nationalist who has lost his nation. He's mourning over the loss of South Africa. And yes, South Africa is a beautiful country. Southern Africa is beautiful, period. So he's mourning that. And he thinks that because everyone knows that America is brutally racist, the only people who don't admit it are the ones who are the administrators and the custodians of it. Those are the only ones who don't admit that it is bizarrely racist.
Absolutely.
And so he knew where he was coming and he's signaling to his folks, hey, the door is open here. You can probably even engage and be an active practicing racist in America. So I think that's the gist of what is going on. And the number is only 59 right now, so specific, but I think it's going to get bigger. And
I think so too, Doc.
It's a signal. They're sending a signal like this is possible. And it is the definition of what racism is, right? Because racism is about using power to impact the outcomes and the life chances of people, right? So if you can decide where they live, what kind of healthcare they're going to get, what kind of education, what food they will get, whether the food is poisoned or not, like it is in our communities, all of that. Controlling the life chances of a group of people or individual, and it's based on race, and you do that to the detriment of the people, that is overtly racist. That is the definition, textbook definition of racism. So they want to do that. They want to privilege these Caucasians from South Africa and increase their life chances as they see the dream of fully owning South Africa diminish, because they're not going to get South Africa back. And I want South Africa to step up a little more, because there's, I'm not going to go there now, but, there's some critique and criticism to be given of South Africa in terms of xenophobia. Right? I think that I work for an organization where we address things like racism and specifically xenophobia on the continent as it relates to places like South Africa. So, South Africa is doing something. They need to direct their energy at a particular population, but there are things that are changing enough to send an Elon Musk and a like over here.
Right.
Right.
No, absolutely. I'm sitting over here. Absolutely. Doc, let me ask you this in sidebar. And I thought this is a sidebar question. I thought about this while you were talking. What do you say to people who say things like, you guys keep saying race and racism, but race is just a social construct. It's just, so people try to minimize it, right? Like it's nothing. It's no such thing as race. You guys keep talking about race. There's only one race, and that's the human race. It's only one race, and that's the human race, and that's the Homo sapiens sapiens. So race is just a social construct. So why do you guys keep talking about race? It's just a made up thing, so why do you talk about it so much? What do you say to folks like that, Dr. Wright? I come across them all the time, Doc. That's why I'm asking. I come across them all the time.
I get it. I won't dispute that race is a social construct. We know, we're both scientists, so we already know that you cannot measure race. But let's be very clear. This pathology and construct of race comes out of the European ideation, period. Right? So they thought, they thought this up. And it has become a pathology for them. So what do I say to that? Yes, we are the parent people. African people are the parent people. Yes, the Homo sapiens sapien is African, first and foremost.
Hold on one second, Dr. Wright. Dr. Craig Samuels and moderators, we have a troll in the building called Shredded at 60. Some white person that's saying I'm white and all kinds of stuff and being derogatory. Get that person out of here. Block that person and get that person out of here. Go ahead though, Doc.
So, yes, we understand that there's only the Homo sapiens sapien, which is the modern human, and that modern human is distinctively African. That's without dispute, right? So you and I are both scientists. We know this. These are things that are common knowledge in the scientific world, period. That being said, what we live under here, and I explain this all the time to, the many students or ambassadors of I Love Black People that I lecture with, every week. And we understand that to be human means to be African. That's what it means, right? Because culture dictates how you live, right? So no human beings have lived outside of a cultural construct. The first human beings, Homo sapiens sapiens, are in Africa for hundreds of thousands of years, 200,000 to 300,000 years to be exact. Therefore, to be human means to be African. The first culture that accompany human beings, how we ate, how we buried our dead, how we worship, because we have the sun, like we could still worship. That being said, is in the African context. So to be human means to be African. This construct of race, and then some people will, dispute the origins of it, but we know that in terms of implementation here in the United States, as it related to our condition once in bondage and brought here, becomes something that is neatly constructed, right? In the European context, they're constructing race too, right? Because they had a hard time with the Moors occupying the Iberian Peninsula for 800 years. Some people would say it's the birth of race, so racial animus, okay, because of that history and that experience. But in the United States, I think we get a very clear defining moment out of, the early 1600s with Anthony Johnson, right? Slavery is not distinct to a race until Anthony Johnson survives indentured servitude, acquires the land and capital that he was promised under indentured servitude, and then becomes a part of the landowning class. And this is when they realize, here in particular, oh no, we don't want this to happen. We don't want the blacks, the Africans, whatever you want to call these people who are non-white, to acquire a certain status. And you find Virginia on up, brick by brick, begin to build the institution of slavery and connect this perpetual characteristic to it. So other than that, there is no distinguishing race early indentured servitude in this country, right? You could be white and indentured, you could be black and indentured, you could be other and indentured. But then there is a conscious moment, right, during this early 1600s with Anthony Johnson and another African individual who escaped indentured servitude, was given a penalty of life, given a life. And this is how you have the institution of slavery coincide with this distinction between race. They created a race of slaves. Now we don't have to dispute, are you a free or enslaved person? Your racial, which categorization category, which is only about presentation, will determine your status in the society. So
Facts.
the distinction of race in America coincides with bondage, right? And so I think that ultimately, yes, race in as a social construct is very real. I mean, how real does it have to be for that, right?
Exactly.
You're free, you're not. Race is real. It is a social construct, but it doesn't mean that because it's a social construct, it can't be the system that creates it cannot make it a deadly construct, right? Constructing a race of people whose lives are disposable or not valued. But in terms of the larger picture, yes, we are the parent people of everyone, right? We're the parent people of everyone. There's no one who we are not the mothers and the fathers of, right? So, and this is not something that's up for their opinion. This is a scientific fact at this point that they've tried to dispute, but they can't, right?
No, absolutely. And Doc, I share your same sentiments. I tell folks, just because it's a social construct doesn't mean it doesn't have real consequences. That's my position. Yes, yeah, it is a social construct. Yeah, you're right. Like you're saying, there's no denying that race is a social construct. But let's not act like it doesn't have real consequences, because it does. There was a really good book that my book club read called The Hidden Cost of Being African American by Thomas Shapiro. And he was saying, yeah, there's literally a cost to being an African American. You know, being an African American, just simply because of your race, right? We can estimate how much your family's going to be worth, right? Like he literally, how long you're going to live, how much your family's going to be worth. And he did it with numbers. He did a really good example, guys, with numbers, where he showed, okay, this is a black family, right, who are positioned this way. And then if we were to paint this family white, right, their position will go from, I'm just throwing out an arbitrary number, Doc. Let's say that their median wealth was 50,000. Well, if we take a similarly positioned white family, right, their wealth would be 250,000. I mean, so he did it with numbers. Family, I don't want to butcher the study. Check out the book, The Hidden Cost of Being African American by Thomas Shapiro. But he literally proved in his book that there are costs associated with being an African American. Now, the cost that he focused on was wealth, right? That was the cost that he was talking about, wealth. But you and I both know there are other costs to being an African American, right? Like outside of economics. And so anyway, I just want to say that we are clear that race is a social construct, but it does have real consequences,
Deadly
So
consequences.
yeah,
Yeah.
literally deadly consequences. And Doc, that brings me to the last thing that I wanted to discuss with you today,
Hmm.
and that was Black fatigue. Have you been hearing on social media, white folks have this new term out called Black fatigue, where they're basically like, I'm just tired of Black people. I'm just so tired of them. And so they've coined this new term. It's becoming really popular on social media. It's called Black fatigue, where white folks are making videos
Hmm.
about Black Americans, and they're like, we are just tired. We are just so tired of Black people, and they're calling it Black fatigue.
No,
are
I'm
you
not
familiar with
familiar
that
with
term?
that. No, I'm not. I thought when you said black fatigue, I thought it was the fatigue we feel from dealing with this society.
Yeah,
You know
no,
what I'm saying? Black fatigue, like, because there is a human toll of living in a racist society. You're always fighting, struggling, right? So no, I never. What do they
uh,
have to be tired of, right? Like you could just turns go to another app. You don't have to look at what we have to say about our struggles, our daily struggles, right? Like I
right.
don't know why black people are even in their orbit to the point where they are fatigued of hearing us talk about our reality. Why are you tuned into us like that? That's perplexing to me, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone said in the chat, Mr. Chosen 1225, he said it's actually our term. He said they took it and they made it something else. And,
Oh,
I actually
smart.
I actually could believe that, but I know
Smart.
that I didn't know it was our term because I didn't hear our people saying anything about fatigue or white fatigue or Black fatigue. But I have been seeing social media of videos out of white folks saying how tired they are. And I share Miss Tiffany's, Queen Tiffany's sentiment. She said we've had white fatigue forever. And
Okay.
I share I share her sentiments. I said, it just the I just think sometimes, Dr. Wright, when I hear things that come out of their mouth, I'm not surprised,
No.
but it's just like the audacity. Like I just sit
Yeah.
back and I'm like, the audacity of to say these things. I'm tired of Black folks. Are you serious? We've never enslaved you or colonized you or created a system
Right.
that discriminates against you and that oppresses you and kills you. And so the audacity of you saying you're tired of us,
Right.
it's like the
But you're
damn
tuned into us.
audacity.
But you're tuned into us because we're not imposing and taking over your world at all, right? Right. So how are you tired of us? You listen. One of the things I do not understand about this country, to that point, I have noticed that white Americans, in particular, Caucasian Americans, are very interested in Black people in a way that, um, to me, is very abnormal.
Mm,
I don't go online and try to find white centered, Eurocentric, and white nationalist groups to troll and be in on. But I've noticed, I'm positioned in a certain community, and there's always some interruption from white individuals seeking to see what we're saying, what we're doing, inciting things, writing derogatory things in groups, on lives, all kinds of stuff. In a way, it's perplexing to me. It's something that I think that further advances the idea that it is a pathology for them, an illness, a preoccupation with us in a way that Black people are not. I've never met a Black person yet, professional, lay person, nothing, who tells me or has ever admitted to spending any time trolling white groups, white communities, white religious organizations, white social organizations, white anything. Nobody. I've never met anybody who's spent their time, but the reverse is certainly the case. So I think that, listen, they're tired of themselves having this desire to be interested in us. They got to
mm.
work it out.
You said they got to work it out. And
They
Doc,
got
you
to
saw,
work it out for themselves.
and Doc, you saw that you saw we were in here minding our black business, and look what
Right.
happened. Somebody came in and say,
Yeah.
"Yeah, and came in and said, I'm white," and we're not in your space. It's
This is
like you said,
how.
we're not going in your spaces and
No,
trolling you.
we're
Why are
not.
you over here? You know?
But I listen. When I was working on my doctorate, I will never forget. I had this cohort, a male, white male, who told me personally. He said, "You know what? My father was a racist and a sexist, and I have a little bit of both in me." He says, "So when I speak to you, when I engage you, I have a visceral response to you." Now,
Mm.
I, what I'm going to tell you, my response to him is what I think the response of most Black people, most African people, is to this type of white person. I said to him, of course, I had to laugh because that's just my disposition. I thought it was hilarious that he was so involved with me. I said, well, let me just tell you something.
Right.
I don't love you or hate you. Actually, we're not in the same world. The moment I see you is when you occur to me, not a second before. So I'm actually indifferent to you. I don't feel any way about you. And you have a lot of passion about me. That's very interesting, but I'm indifferent to you. You don't exist until I see you.
Mm.
You just don't. We're not in the same world. He was enraged. This is the thing. I think that's how most Black people are. Until you stop us in our tracks or interrupt what we're trying to do for ourselves, for our families, for our nation, we're not even thinking about you all like that. In spite of all the many years of calculated disruption of our lives, of our well-being, of our communities, and all of that. We just simply are not that involved with Caucasian people in America. We're not. We just,
No.
and I've only had to tell one person in my life, like, listen, I don't do those conversations. When I get together with other African people, we talking about the things that are important to us as African people. Only one person in my whole life. Every other Black person in the world, I have never had a serious, long, extended, invested conversation about white people, the people per se, uh, at all.
No,
With
absolutely.
that one
No.
person, we don't spend it. We are building on other things. We are building in our lives in the world. We're indifferent to them. I'm indifferent to them. I don't love them. I don't hate them. When you oppose me now, right? Like Malcolm talks
Absolutely.
about, when you oppose me and mine, when you try to destroy me and mine, then yes, of course, then you will get the proper response. But in terms of thinking about them, or we're so busy fighting the systems they put in place, we don't have time to fixate on individual white people. That's just the reality. And we are in the throes. I have to say this: us as African people, who are the humans in on this earth, the first, the oldest, the parent people, we are in the throes of the human experience, living, loving, winning, losing, all of that, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We're in the throes of being human. We're in the throes of being African people and fighting our battles and winning sometimes and losing some, fighting on another day in some instances. Yeah, we don't have time to think about them. We don't have any time. So I don't get the white fatigue. Switch your app, delete the app.
Well, they're calling it black fatigue.
Right. Okay. So
Yeah,
they're
they're
right.
calling it
They're
black
calling
fatigue.
it black fatigue. But look, it's as simple as 1, 2, 3. Dump the app off. You spending too much time on these apps involved with us. You too much time on YouTube involved with us, searching Black issues and Black people. No, I don't know what goes on with white America unless I see it on the news. And like I said, I reside in a very interesting and comfortable space of indifference as it relates to them. So
Right. No, no,
I can't relate.
no, I understand, and I stand corrected. I appreciate the brothers in the chat who who had brought it to my attention. I said that they came up with the term, and there was a brother, Mr. Chosen One. He said no. He said they did not come up. He said, and I just want to show the family this. He said it's actually our term. He said they took it and made it something else. And then he goes on. Mr. Chosen went on to say, he said, perverting our slogans, inventions, ideas, and cultures. He said, remember woke.
Not
So
new.
then Dr. Dennis Assar came behind him, and he said, well, we created the concept of racial battle fatigue. Okay. And then Dr. Craig Samuel said, well, there's a book called Black Fatigue: How Racism Erodes the Mind, Body, Spirit by Mary Frances Winters. So I just want to thank the brothers in the chat for educating me, because I had no idea, because I've seen it online. You know, a lot of white folks are calling it black fatigue, and they're tired of black folks and all this other stuff. But I had no idea. I should have, but I had no idea that that term came from us, and they took it and now they're popularizing it, and they've redefined what it means, and now they're popularizing it on social media. So I do want to thank the brothers for teaching me that term. So thank you so much, brothers. And then there's somebody in the chat, Dr. Wright, who said they call Pan-Africanism Scan-Africanism. and they're saying, and this family, this is family, you know, this is family. It's just, we just disagree. Okay. But this is a family member, Lawson. I'm looking for your comment, Lawson, because Lawson's like, I want to, you know, Lawson said they think Scan-Africanism is, they call it Scan-Africanism, even though it's Pan-Africanism. And they feel like Pan-Africanism is dead, and they feel like it's a scam, you know, and that's what Lawson is saying. And so, Doc, if you don't mind, I just wanted to take 2 minutes, Lawson, 2 minutes to hear you out, and we will respond to you and close out. There's the link. There's the link, Lawson. Click the link and come on in. Click the link and come on in, Lawson. We're gonna give you 2 minutes. I want to hear you out, Lawson. I want to hear you out, family. And then Dr. Wright and I will respond, and we will close out. But Lawson is family. Lawson said, I don't know if it's a male or female. It says Latrobia Lawson. So I don't know. It may be a male or female. And they said, you know, they FBA, Foundational Black American. I'm not tripping. I'm not not mad at you about that.
I hate that people think it's one or the other anyway, right? Like, I don't.
I tell them all the time. You know, they say, well, Dr. Mahat, what are you? You know, you keep calling yourself African American. They hijack the term. So I say, look, if you want to say African American, ADOS, FBA, as long as you're talking about the African people, I'm a descendant of the African folks who came from Western Central Africa, who was kidnapped, brought here, worked from Kansas to Kansas, fought in every war, endured chattel slavery, endured Jim Crow, led the civil rights movement, right? Led, organized and led the Black Power movement, endured the drug epidemic, endured mass incarceration. I come from that lineage. So whatever you want to call that lineage, that is my lineage. You know, my father's side comes from Maryland Eastern Shore. My mother's side comes from South Carolina. So I'm sorry, my father's side is Maryland Eastern Shore in North Carolina. My mother's side is South Carolina. So we came from the South. All of my grandparents were among the Great Migration that took place between 1915 and 1970. That's why they left North Carolina, South Carolina, Maryland Eastern Shore, and then both sides ended up in Baltimore. And here comes me, right? And all of my cousins and all of us, right? So that's what happened. That is my lineage. Right. So if you want to call that ADOS, you want to call that FBA, you want to call that Black American, that is the lineage. All right. That is my lineage.
Short way to say it.
What's the short way, Doc?
Because I'm the same kind of African as you are. So the short way, the way I say it, and I had to tell this to some, I don't know if he was Middle Eastern person. I went into a gas station one time, and he said something to me about what was I, essentially. And I said, just to be clear, I am the African that defeated the institution of slavery here.
Oh,
made all this possible. That's who I am. I am the African who brought that 250-year institution to its knees.
Facts.
Surprise. That's who I am. So when you see me, you want to know what kind of African I am. I'm the African that interrupted their plans Okay, to have
Mm.
us in bondage forever. I'm the African
Mm.
who made this place a desirable place for you, your brown self, to come to.
All right,
Right? So
Doc.
the next time I went into his uh, gas station, he said, "Oh, the African who defeated slavery." I said, "That's
The African that deleted
all
slavery.
those Africans that you see coming in and out of here. This is the Jamaica Queens. You know, we ain't all responsible for that, right?
Right. We ain't all
This
responsible for that.
African,
I'm letting you know what lineage I come from.
right? This African's ancestors interrupted their great plan, and
I love it.
and they will never get back. It will never come back. They can't. That's why they're crying now. That's what the Trump and everything, all of that stuff is about. So in short, that's the African you are. That's the African I am. So
That's right.
in short, they understand what that means. I'm the African who interrupted all those plans and brought this institution, defeated the institution of slavery.
Yep. And,
Yeah,
and then the part two was it made it a desirable place for
that's
you to
right.
be able to come here.
That's right.
That's
Yes.
right,
Yes.
Doc.
Yes.
Lawson, I saw you logged in and then you logged back off. Doc, everybody said facts, Doc. They said bars. They said bars. They said bars. Lawson, I'm waiting for you to get in here because we're getting ready to close out. You talking about Pan-Africanism.
Okay.
And then I'm like, and I'm with you. I don't know why people I don't think people understand that it's an ideology, right?
Right.
Just like Black nationalism is an ideology. It's not a lineage.
Exactly.
So I can be an African from that lineage and still practice Pan-Africanism and Black nationalism.
Yeah.
People act like those are lineages. No, they're ideologies.
No,
And,
technologies. Exactly.
and for the folks who think that Pan-Africanism is a scam or is dead, then you all have you all have a misconception of what Pan-Africanism is. You don't even know what it is. You're disconnected because
Right.
it's alive and well. It's alive and well on the
We try-
continent and throughout the diaspora. It's alive and well.
Exactly. It is alive and well. And the history is like rich. Are you serious? I don't think there's a contradiction between understanding what kind of African you are and understanding your particular history and the fact that African people, like Malcolm talked about, worldwide have to engage and wage this struggle globally in a unified way. That's what Pan-Africanism is: unity for the purpose of eradicating oppression and exploitation of us African people, right? So in other words, we are unified. So now we're not just struggling in America, waging struggle and fighting in America. We are connecting our struggle to the struggle of African people on the continent, in the Caribbean, in Central and South America sometimes, when they remember, that they are Africans. Yes. But we are connected to African people around the globe, and we come together to address our oppression and exploitation. We come together on a lot of other stuff that's not always productive. Well, Pan-Africanism is when we come together for the purpose of dealing with our condition. So really, if you don't, you could be just ignorant to the definition of Pan-Africanism. But the other thing is if you're not, and you come together with other African people for nothing at all, nothing productive, then I can understand you not looking at Pan-Africanism as positive, because Pan-Africanism is only going to give you what you put in, meaning that if you are going to come and wage struggle for our collective desire to live free from oppression and free of exploitation, then it is the point. What makes it Pan-Africanism is that you produce something to that end. But if you don't produce anything to that end, you don't come together with other African people to that end to work on that, then no. You'll say, well, what does Pan-Africanism produce for us? It hasn't produced anything for you because you're never with us on agenda, on the agenda. You're never there working on that particular goal. Now, is there a history? There's a long and rich history of Pan-Africanism, so that's a whole nother thing. We could do education Pan-Africanism 101. 101.
Yeah,
That
absolutely. And shout out to Dr. Craig Samuels. I'm glad that he brought this book to my attention. He's
uh-huh,
right. I did write a book. I'm sorry. I wrote the intro in Baba Imhotep Fatiul's new book,
mhm,
Scientific Pan-Africanism. And
mhm,
so he talks about that history, Dr. Wright.
mhm,
He calls it Pan-African antecedents. That's what he calls it. And
mhm,
there's a chapter in there where he mentions several
mhm.
of our great, Pan-Africanists. He goes all the way back to the 1800s,
Yeah.
you know. Before it was, no one was calling it Pan-Africanism. Of course, that came later, but
Yes.
those are the ideas that
Right.
these people, espouse or articulated. So he does talk about, several people in one of the chapters. And so, family, I'm going to drop the link for that book, okay, in the chat. Okay, that is the link to Baba Imhotep's book. It's called Scientific Pan-Africanism. And matter of fact, where's my copy? Trying to see if I can hold up my copy. Lord have mercy, Doc. Where's my copy? I got it up here somewhere. I'm looking behind me on my bookshelf. I got like 50 million books on the floor and up there and downstairs. But I thought I had his book. I thought I had it around here. Oh man, the next time I go live, I'll make sure that I have it so I can hold it up. And speaking of books, Doc, where can people find your book, Booker T. Washington in Africa, before we head on out of here?
Okay, so we're sold out on Amazon. We finally sold out on Amazon. It was there. And then the book has its own website, Booker T. Washington in Africa.com. All one word, Booker T. Washington in Africa.com. And you can get it on there for $20 on Amazon. Listen, I don't know what the deal is with people. People like to pay more for stuff. I don't know why, right? Jeff
Mm,
Bezos and them said, you got to pay a little more. They don't care. The book is 30 something dollars on Amazon. But on the book's website, the people's website,
right, the people's
the book
website.
is $20. So you can still get it if you go to Booker T. Washington in Africa. And if you go to the last page, it says order the book or pre-order the book. The book is not a pre-order. It's been out for a very long time now. So you can get the book, and it takes about a week or so. Yeah. So it'll be back up on Amazon if you just like to pay $30. You want to give Jeff Bezos, some money. Right? That's Jeff Bezos, right? Jeff Bezos.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah,
Be
I'm
back up
laughing.
there for those because like listen, our people sometimes the Eurocentric thinking they've got to go through white people, to get things, and you don't. But the reality is, some people like that. They think that it makes things a little more, I don't know, to their liking. I'm not sure what the
Yeah,
mentality
yeah,
is.
I'm with you. I don't know what that is. It's like you said, I
Uh,
want to pay more for it, and they think
right, of
if
course,
they pay more for it, that is more valuable, right?
right.
Because you pay more for it. But this is the website, family, that you're looking at on the screen. Booker
Mhm.
T. Washington in Africa, the making of a Pan-Africanist. And I remember when you dropped this book.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, some of those elders, I don't want to call them
There's
elders. Those elders were mad with you because
Oh
they solidified it in their minds, right? That Booker T. Washington was accommodationist, he was a sellout, he
yeah.
was
Mhm.
all of these, derogatory things. And then here you come with no, in fact, he actually had Pan-African, he actually practiced what we define as Pan-Africanism,
Absolutely.
so
At the beginning of the history of Pan-Africanism, right? The first Pan-African conference. He is a planner. He is part of the plenary sessions of the first Pan-African conference. So yeah, I mean, listen, but most of those elders they have conceded
oh yeah.
at this point.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
All conceded. Listen, I love this is research. It's about my people, the people I love, our people and our struggle. That being said, I'm always up for the challenge, but once whoever reads the book, it's a teaching book and it's
Mhm.
great. You could go and find any and all of the documents associated with the history there and see it for yourself. That's the great part about it. It's in black and white. So it's not even, oh, it's her opinion. No, this is not.
No, this is not your opinion. This is like you said, these are the facts.
Right. These are facts, and it's facts.
Oh man, did she go out, family, or did I go out? Let me know in the chat. Did she go out or did I go out? Let me know in the chat, family. Did she go out just now or did I go out? Because I see myself and I see a black screen of her. And it could be me. It could be my technology. Okay, she went out. All right. So family, make sure that you head on over to Booker T. Washington and Africa. Grab her book. I think she may be having some technological challenges, but make sure that you head on over to her website, Booker T. Washington. Oh, there she is. Let me bring her back on the screen. There she is. Doc, look, she back now. What happened? What did you do? You got
somebody
a phone call?
Called me and knocked us off.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, somebody called me and knocked us offline. But yeah, so yes, get the book. But listen, our elders, they conceded, so there's no problems there. I'm not mad though that they left all the dirty work for me.
No, absolutely.
Glad to do it.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And someone asked, Brother Shimsu in the chat he said, you're working on volume 2. He said, have you completed it and when will it be available?
Yes, I have. And I don't know because it's been a while. So it could be the latter part of the summer or in the fall. Yeah. So it's not a part 2, but it's more an expansion of an expanded version of, so more conversation about the African exclusion measure, right? The actual debate and discourse on the floor of the House, more on the African nationalist affiliates, if you're familiar with the book. So yes, there's a lot more coming in it, but it probably won't be until the end of the summer or the fall.
Okay, in the summer, fall, yeah. Don't rush. You just know that you have some folks that are waiting on you, Doc.
Yes.
And when you drop it, we can't wait to have, can't wait. Lawson, I see that you kind of coming in and out. So we're gonna close out Lawson. And hopefully, one day you could come back. And in fact, I'm bringing Bob Imhotep to you on here to talk about Pan-Africanism. And hopefully we'll have him. I'll bring him on next week. That's if he's available. Mm-hmm. I'll bring him on next week to have a conversation about Pan-Africanism, right? Like, what is it? Great. What is it? What is it? Has it benefited us? Is it non-reciprocal like people claim it is? Oh, it's always non-reciprocal. People say that. So what is it? Has it benefited us? Is it non-reciprocal, right? Is it alive and well? And so those are the questions we're going to tackle next week, family. So be sure to tune in next week at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Dr. Wright, thank you so much for coming on. Do you have any closing words for the listening audience?
Forward ever, backwards never.
Forward
ever, backwards never. That's what we would say in the All African People Revolutionary Party. Founded by Kwame Ture. Yeah. Forward ever,
backwards never. Family, before you get out of here, make sure you thumb it up the show, thumb it up. Also share this show. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that whenever I go live, you will be notified. Peace and Black African excellence.
Let's combat and fight back with Meltrax. The war of the minds, they want control of the masses. And Common Core, they dumb us down in the classes. Without knowledge, we can't gain access. Build with the elders, take notes and write classes. We keep whining on the block, how it's gonna stop? Let's start supporting our own, make their supply drop. We buy stocks, then we buy blocks. Cause we know the truth and we tuned in to Dr. Maya.